Hi, this is Stana Jamming with ICF Colorado, and I'm here today with Master Coach Lyssa deHart, who will be presenting to the ICF West region on September 4th to 2024 in a presentation called Playing with the Power of Metaphors. I just want to say a couple things about Lyssa, I should say. Lyssa deHart is the author of multiple books, including Light Up, The Science of Coaching with Metaphors. She's the host of the Coaching Studio podcast, a leadership and confidence coach, a mentor and a supervision coach, an ICF PCC assessor, and a coaching educator. Lyssa leverages her knowledge of the ICF core competencies and neuroscience to help professional coaches enhance their client outcomes by deeply listening, being client-led, and ultimately empowering their clients through partnership. In 2018, Lyssa began developing the Power of Metaphor certification program. This program trains coaches to tune their ears and leverage their clients' metaphors. In 2022, Lyssa developed an updated credentialing exam prep, a resource that helps over 5,000 coaches prepare for their upcoming ICF exam. So Lyssa deHart, welcome, and thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you so much for having this opportunity.
Yeah, oh, really, we're really looking forward to it. So, um, first of all, I believe many of us are familiar with the coach training work, which includes the popular YouTube videos and training program. Um, and I just want to say, first of all, on behalf of the coaching community in ICF, I just want to express our gratitude, first of all, for your work you do to improve the practice of coaching and help individual coaches achieve their best results. So thank you.
Well, thank you for that acknowledgement. I really appreciate it.
Um, I'm really curious about your journey. Like, what has driven you to get to this, to do this type of coaching, and how you got here?
Oh, it's sort of an interesting, well, I mean, I could go back to I was born in a small village and no, I'm joking. So I think really the work that I'm doing comes out of the work that I was doing prior when I was a therapist. And it really was that transition from therapy into coaching that led me to really want to dive into what was different about coaching, and then ultimately through the process of learning more and more about coaching and starting to work as a mentor coach and a coach educator, and ultimately getting my MCC in 2018. That really was a deep dive into the competencies, into the markers, and into the just the ICF coaching container, this idea of how we hold space with another person or people if we're working with teams. And one of the things that was really evident to me that I really hadn't noticed as I was doing therapy, and I didn't notice immediately when I was beginning my coaching training and my coaching journey, was what it truly means to actively listen to another person. And as I started to really do a lot more of my own coach development work, even past MCC, where I would get recordings of clients, I was already listening for metaphors, but I started really noticing the prevalence of metaphors in just the way that people unconsciously explain their experience and where they are and where they want to go. And it made me really wonder. So this was starting to happen in around 2017. And so I started doing research on metaphors and around this time point, and starting to find out about how the brain was designed with metaphorical and visual language, really, or visual wiring. And metaphors are often visual language. They're not solely visual language, but they are definitely these idea containers that take one idea, one word, and use it in a way that represents a new way of thinking about or experiencing something. And so it was really just, I don't know, maybe part of my personality. I like to research things. And the fact that I was doing so many recordings and so much transcript analysis of my own work. And I started really recognizing how I was missing these amazing opportunities to partner more fully with my clients by listening to the language they were bringing forward.
So I know that using metaphors in coaching could provide a fresh perspective, as we discussed, as you just discussed. But first of all, why are they so important to use, and how do we actively create metaphors in our coaching?
I knew you were going to ask this question. And I mean, and I think a couple things come up. The first thing is, why are they so important to use? Well, like any language, when you think about sharing anything with anybody, you're not consciously necessarily thinking specifically of the words that you're using as you're trying to describe something. So what happens is our brains are designed in such a way that we naturally sort of default to trying to explain one complex idea with something more simple. So for instance, if somebody's really feeling overwhelmed, this is a great one because lots of our clients come to us with overwhelm. We start hearing them use metaphors like full plate or juggling or like a heaviness that they're carrying on their shoulders, right? Like, so there's all of these sorts of idea containers that may be descriptive of that sense of overwhelm that the client is talking about. Clients will sometimes just say, I'm just feeling so overwhelmed. But most of the time, like when I look at recordings and I'm reading through transcripts, they're usually also surrounding that overwhelm with other language. And going then to this idea of the coach creating the metaphors, I think the second part of this question. And I guess I'd say, I I have this conversation with coaches all the time because I'm not going to say 100% no, a coach should never bring up a metaphor. But what I will say is clients have often already brought up the metaphor. What language they are using is already alive in their brain. They know what they mean by full plate or juggling or the swirl that they're dealing with. They know what those things mean. So if I'm working with you and you say, I've just been so overwhelmed and it's like I've got this swirl going on constantly and I just don't know what to do. If I say to you, yeah, it's really like being caught in a riptide, what I'm asking you to do is to get out of your own mental construct and now come into mine. And when you think about partnering and when you think about being client led and you think about all the things that the competencies ask us to do, asking your client to join your mental understanding is nowhere in any of the competencies. And so I know that in Evokes Awareness, Competency 7, ICF defines it as facilitating client insight and learning by using tools and techniques such as powerful questioning, silence, metaphors, or analogy. And yes, I think that that can show up that way. Yet, I think there is something to be gained by really developing our capacity to hear more deeply the language that our client is using and partner more fully by utilizing the metaphors that they naturally bring forward because they've already constructed meaning from it. And it doesn't lay my concepts on top of theirs in order to make meaning for me because I'm not making meaning for them when I do it. Now, occasionally a client may not be particularly metaphorical and they'll be talking about overwhelm. And a coach might say something like, yeah, it feels like you have like your cup is really full. And the client may be like, yes, my cup is full. And they totally relate with the metaphor that the coach brought forward. Great. What would you like to do? Like, how would you want that overflowing cup to be different by the end of this conversation? And the client can then name what the shift would be, right? And then now it becomes their owned metaphor, which is very different than my owned metaphor. Other times, though, like I have a couple of demonstrations that I've done through the years. I had a conversation many years ago in a coaching demonstration for ICF Malaysia. And the client was talking about this really difficult relationship. In fact, I talk about this one in my book, and this really difficult relationship they were having with their daughter. And I said something to the effect of, may I share an observation? And the client, of course, said yes. And I said, it's almost like I feel this like like the Batmobile as you're talking about this relationship. And they were like, no, it is not the Batmobile. And I'm like, what is it? And they're like, a pink bunny suit. In a bajillion years, I never would have come up with pink bunny suit. What is that? What is the pink bunny suit that we're moving towards? Wow, the pink bunny suit is this time in my life with this kid where we had so much fun. We were so connected. And that's the energy I need to be bringing into my conversations with this now grown adult child. And so if my trying to make it make more sense by sharing this Batmobile metaphor of defensiveness. And the client was like, I guess, yeah, sure, let's go with that. It would have not been nearly as useful as what was demonstrated by the client coming up with something far more meaningful for them. So I don't know. Does that answer that question a little bit?
It totally does. I love that metaphor of the bunny suit. I can only imagine. What a
Yeah, yeah, and
surprise.
it's not something that would just roll off of like out of my head. I don't have a relationship with the pink bunny. Well, now I do because I was in that conversation, and very much now I have a relationship with the pink bunny suit, but I didn't in that moment.
Yeah,
And what a disservice to the client if I hadn't heard that.
right, right. So this all sounds like real skills learning, not information learning. So what are we going to expect when we're in this program? How are we going to learn this stuff?
Well, and well, it I think that this program is really about starting to tune our ears to hear them when they show up, to really learning how to partner in a more listening and being curious kind of way, and to explore the metaphors that show up, not necessarily in the way of like, I feel like I have a really full plate. Please explain to me this full plate that you're seeing. Like, that isn't the point, like to have them explain their full plate, but to hear the full plate and then to ask the client, because now we know the experience that they're having. What is the directionality they would like to be moving towards in this conversation? And for many clients, it might be something like, I just like to take one thing off my plate. Excellent. Is that what we're doing in this conversation? And again, I mean, I use metaphors all the time that the client has brought forward in agreement setting, because clients bring metaphors into the download. When you say, what's showing up today for our coaching conversation, they start sharing metaphors immediately. And how do we start to hear them and then leverage them? And now this is something I've been working on, like I said, I mean, since 2017 for sure. And I still am working on it. So I don't know. I mean, in an hour and a half, I'd like to think that we can get a long way in just awareness and
Mm.
starting to have more fun in our coaching conversations using these things that our clients just so generously drop into our laps.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, thank you, Lyssa deHart. I mean, you've been sharing so passionately about metaphors. It's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you for all of you out there who are joining us to hear about this event. I just want to let you know again, this special event will be held on September 4th at noon Mountain Daylight Time, which is 11 Pacific Daylight Time. ICF Colorado is hosting the event, and many other chapters are co-hosting. So to register, please go to your local chapter's website. It's the events page and register there. And as with other West Region events, there will be a two-step registration process. So you'll have to first register with your local chapter, and then click the link in the confirmation email to register to get your Zoom link to attend the event. So, and we really hope to see you all there. And thank you again so much, Lyssa deHart.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Dan.